Do you make it a practice when you have a need to make your first response to go to God and ask Him to meet that need? Or do you sometimes do everything you possibly can, and when you see it is no longer in your power, then you go to God? Today we're in 2 Kings chapter 4, and in that chapter a widow comes to Elijah. Her husband has died. He was faithful in serving the prophets, and she has a problem. She has debts that she can't pay, and as was a custom in that day, she may lose her 2 sons who will be taken by the creditors and sold into slavery. So because of her husband's faithfulness, she goes to Elijah to ask him to help. Now I love that response that she went and asked. You know, sometimes we're guilty of not asking God. In James, there is a verse that says, you have not, really 2 criteria, because you ask not, or you ask to fulfill your own selfish desire. So there's 2 pictures there. First, one reason we don't have is just we simply haven't asked. Another reason we ask, but we ask with the wrong motive, that's for our selfish need. You know, interesting, if you look at Christ when He taught on prayer, in Luke He shares 2 parables. Remember, the one was the woman who was being treated unfairly, and she goes to the judge and asks for his help. But this judge doesn't fear God. He doesn't care what people will see. And really, the inference is there, she can't really bribe him or give anything, so he's not going to help her. But she keeps coming again and again and again. And it says that the judge takes care of her, gives her justice, because she was wearing him out. The term in the Greek, wearing him out, literally means making him black and blue. And in that inference, Christ says that's how you are to go to God with your needs. I think sometimes we think we bug God as opposed to going to Him. But we're told again and again, we're told to ask and to seek and to knock. We're told to bring our needs to Him. And sometimes we don't do that. But in this case, she brings her needs to Elijah, God's prophet. And Elijah is used by God. As a matter of fact, first he asked her, what do you have? And the only thing she had was a small flask of olive oil that would be used for a lamp and used for cooking. And he says, here's what you're to do. Go borrow as many bowls as you possibly can, as many containers as you can, and then go and shut the door and fill them up. Well, you've got to wonder first, how many containers did she borrow? How many people did she go to? How in a sense, how big was her faith? Because she didn't know how this was going to work. But it says that she goes in and she gets the first container, she opens the flask, and he starts pouring it. And a miracle happens. The flask does not run out till this container is totally full. So she asks her boys for another container, and she pours it, and another container, and she pours it. Finally, she asks the boys for another container, and they say, there is no more. And at that point, the flask uses up the last of its olive oil. And yet from that, she has enough olive oil that she can sell, pay off all her debts, and enough for her boys and her to live off of. And I think that's neat, just in the fact that, one, I have to think that the first thing she thought when she said there was no more bowls was, I should have asked for more bowls. I should have asked for more containers. And I think sometimes, we ask God kind of for the minimum. If we ask more, oh my goodness, that would wear Him out. And really the picture's not there. The picture is, do we go to God and do we ask? And do we ask more than once? Remember the parable of the woman going to the judge. She asked again and again and again. And Christ says that's how we are to ask. We're asked until God answers. When Paul had the thorn in the flesh, it said he prayed to God 3 times and Christ answered. See, I think Paul would have prayed 333 times until Christ told him why he was going to keep requesting, God, remove this from me. God, remove this from me. And only when Christ told him that my grace is sufficient, that you'll be made, your weakness will make you powerful, was Paul able to say, I will much more glorify God in my weakness, because when I'm weak, He is strong. So maybe there's a need you have today. Maybe there's something that's been bugging you, and you prayed about it once, and God hasn't answered it, so you kind of feel like, well, I guess He's not going to. Go to Him again and again and again until God answers the prayer, or until God gives you the release to let you know that the answer may be no. It may not be the answer that you're looking for this moment, but don't make it like James said, and we have not because we ask not. Guys, thank you so much for joining us for our daily Devo. Continue with us tomorrow, and I hope you guys have a blessed day.